mythology and the whole thing about the full moon, and even a man who is pure at heart and says his prayers at night becomes a wolf when the wolfbane blooms and the moon is full and bright. That was all Hollywood. Any actual werewolf from history, they can change whenever they damn well please.
Hello, amazing people, and welcome back to The Ryan Files. Tonight, we're diving headfirst into the weird and wild with veteran journalist and cryptid investigator Jason Offutt, a man who's chased monsters across all 50 states and beyond. What if the legends are real? What if the creatures we were told went extinct 65 million years ago are still out there, in forests and lakes, even in your own backyard? We're talking about the kind of stories your science teacher rolled their eyes at, but that your gut says might be true. From three-toed Bigfoots to giant sloths, flying pterosaurs, dogmen, Native American legends, and even a freshwater octopus in Oklahoma. This is one conversation that blows the lid off of the sanitized version of nature you thought you knew. No doubt we will be exploring controversial ideas, folklore, and personal testimony. And as always, you are encouraged to do your own research and approach these topics with both curiosity and critical thinking. So grab your flashlight and maybe your EMF detector, because tonight, the woods come alive. This is the Ryan Files. Let's get into it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me this week on Ryan Files. We have the one and only, he's an author, he's a journalist, he's a chronicler of the strangest creatures roaming North America, the one and only Jason Offutt. Thank you so much for joining me.
Hey, I really appreciate the invite. Thank you.
So you just wrote a book called Chasing North American Monsters, all right? And that just goes right in line with what we do here at the Ryan Files. We love talking the cryptids, creatures, all kinds of weird, wacky woo-woo. So yeah, let's have some fun, man. What inspired you to kind of get into this, write this book?
Well, it starts from when I was a kid. I was one of those weird kids that in elementary school you get the Scholastic Book Club order form, right? Yeah, I had buddies were getting biographies of baseball players and Abraham Lincoln, and stuff like that. And I was getting books on the Bermuda Triangle and Bigfoot.
That's
Because that's what
awesome.
I was interested in.
That's awesome. Gosh, that reminds me of myself.
Yeah.
Anything weird like that, Bermuda Triangle, cryptids. I don't know if you've seen that Oak Island mystery of Oak Island
Yeah, I
series.
haven't watched the show, but I know a lot about Oak Island. Yeah.
So it's funny because those dudes talk about how they read an article in a Reader's Digest when they were kids. I read the same article at my
Yeah.
grandmother's house as a kid. So it's just all
Yeah.
that weird stuff. And that's basically why I started this podcast. It's basically what the Ryan Files is. It's the same thing as a 5-year-old boy, like you said, going to the bookmobile and getting some weird book. So that's
Right.
awesome, man.
And on TV, man, I was hooked. Every week I had to watch Leonard Nimoy In Search of.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were in search of Bigfoot, in search of Oak Island, in search of Roanoke, and all this stuff. I was glued to it.
Yep, absolutely. So you're the right person to not only research, but also write this book. That's kind of awesome. Um, Now, yeah, I mean, there's so many different avenues you can go here, but you kind of went. This particular book is about North America. It's about creatures, um, and of course, we know that there are hundreds, if not thousands of
Thousands.
variations of things. Some, I know we did an episode not too long ago about Bigfoot and Momo, the Missouri Monster.
Hmm.
Kind of sounds like it might be the same thing, but how did you decide like what goes into this book and what doesn't? Because like I said, there are thousands and thousands out there.
Well, I did a book before this back in 2019 called Chasing American Monsters, where I explored all 50 states, and I picked some of the big monsters. Momo was in that one,
Yeah.
but some monsters that people hadn't heard of before. And my publisher was like, a few years later, they said, "Hey, Jason, would you like to do another book?" See, that's different than what usually happens. Usually, what happens is you try to get the publisher to publish a book that you've written. And I had a publisher asking me to write one for them. Cool, let's do it. And I suggested chasing North American monsters going from the Arctic Circle all the way down to Panama. And that's what I did. I also found more than 50 more monsters in the United States than I'd found in my first one.
Wow.
Um, but yeah, I just you mentioned Momo and Bigfoot, man. I got to go off on Momo for a second, if you're all
Please.
right with that.
Yeah. I live in
Yeah.
Missouri, so yeah, get at it.
All right, terrific. So a number of the people who witnessed Momo back in 1970, what, 273, something like that,
Yeah.
are still around. They're still alive. Um, I was a kid. I was about 7 years old when I read the first story about Momo in the newspaper.
Right.
I'm like, oh my gosh, there's a Bigfoot in my home state and it's in the newspaper. It's got to be true, right? So I spent that summer out in the cornfields looking for footprints and pissing my mom off to no end because I wouldn't shut up about Momo. But I've done a lot of thinking and a lot of reading and a lot of interviewing people. And did you know that Momo only left three-toed footprints?
Oh, really? No, I did not know
Yeah.
that.
There, there's a monster down in Louisiana called not Louisiana, Missouri is where Momo was seen, but Louisiana, called the Honey Island Swamp Monster, who was a Bigfoot, but it left three-toed footprints.
Hmm.
The Folk Monster, who was it was later made into a movie called The Legend of Boggy Creek, three-toed footprints.
Interesting.
I also discovered there were some reports in Iowa and Minnesota about a Bigfoot with three-toed footprints. What is that?
Yeah, right, right.
Yeah. There
Uh,
are stories from way up north in Canada all the way down to South America of maybe the giant sloth still existing
yeah,
from back in the Pleistocene era. They fit Bigfoot's description, and they had three-toed feet. So I'm really kind of curious
yeah,
if one
right.
day we might find giant sloths still alive.
That would be interesting. And some of the pictures, the artist depictions, it kind of looks like a sloth. Like
Yeah,
some of the renditions. That's interesting. Nobody's ever brought that up. How big
yeah.
do you know how big the giant sloth was?
They could grow up to, if they stood on their hind legs, which they were known to do, they could grow up to like 18 feet
Wow.
tall.
Well, there you
They're
go, right?
absolutely huge. Yeah, yeah. I mean, the three toes always bothered me about Momo because you see Bigfoot footprints there. They look like a human footprint, just bigger than Shaq's,
Yeah,
but not these. And I mean, that would answer some questions, but it would also, also poses some. How could we not know that a giant ground sloth is still living?
right. Yeah,
There are a lot of cryptid reports in both of those books that I just mentioned, mine, about sightings of dinosaurs, of teratorns, of different creatures that should have died out
right.
thousands and millions of years ago that people still see. Most of this planet is unexplored, honestly.
Yeah,
They could be
yeah.
anywhere.
And you get into underwater stuff, and it's even more so.
It's oh my gosh, right.
Yeah,
There's 95% of the ocean isn't, I mean, it is mapped by satellite, but
right,
explored 90 at least 95% is not explored. We have no idea what's down there.
right. Yeah, pretty interesting stuff. So in yeah, I can't get my head wrapped around that 18-foot potential sloth. I'm gonna have to do some research on that. That's pretty awesome.
Man, I was okay. I was at a natural history museum in Houston a couple of years ago, and they have a skeleton, the fossils of a giant ground sloth, and they have it up on its hind feet. Just the bones are terrifying,
Yeah, I bet.
just because of the size of this thing.
I bet. Yeah. Wow, that's awesome. How is how many okay, on this particular book, do you have a number? Is there a number of particular of cryptids that you're talking about?
Yeah, in actually both of the two books, and there's another one coming out next year. But I've got more than 250, so it's probably Probably like 510 altogether.
Awesome. Okay, so that's significant. Um, when you go beyond America, the United States of America, up into Canada, down into Mexico and Central America, all of that, do you see a lot of the same things, or do you see a different, totally different variety?
Honestly, I see a number of the same things. There is a different variety from regions, but there are a number of the same things.
Yeah,
The thing that I found interesting, let's go back to the sloth. Um, Reports from northern Canada. There are also reports from the Yucatan Peninsula and reports from the Amazon jungle of the same ground sloth. They call it different things, but the description's the same thing,
yeah,
which of course leads me more to believe that there might be something beside this or behind this. But in the book that is coming out in 2026, man, there are some weird monsters. For example, in China that are also in Mexico.
hmm.
And these things have a history before the continents, before we had communication between continents. So it's like, how did this weird stuff get from this place to that place
Yeah,
unless it actually exists?
yep, yep. Do you consider yourself a skeptic? Do you consider yourself the kind of person who can be objective but wants to believe? Do you believe are you Mulder? Are you Scully? you
No,
know,
I'm more Scully. I was a journalist for 17 years. I for the past 20 years I've taught journalism at a university, and I'm also a huge science fan. So I tend to view things through a scientific lens. However, I'm open I'm more open to eyewitness accounts and native legends than a scientist would be, because we've got natives talking about eight 8 to 10 foot tall, hairy, bipedal, human-like creatures that if you get into their area, they'll throw rocks at you, they'll hit trees with sticks. Wow, that's in North America, South America, Central America, Europe, Asia, Africa, Australia, New Zealand, Sri Lanka. It's, I mean, and these stories are hundreds, if not thousands of years old. So, how are these stories so similar unless there's something behind it?
yeah, yeah. I tend to I think we're probably cut from the same cloth on a lot of this, Jason. I do believe that there's a potential for things out there to exist that, just because we don't see it all the time doesn't mean that it's not there. But that's the thing too. When you get into Native American legend uh, and lore, and then you start matching that with things all around the world, um, same kind of creatures.
Hmm.
And that's why I was asking: is there a difference between Canada and obviously there's going to be a temperate uh, factor that goes into play. But I think it's interesting, man. The more and more research I do on stuff, how this is kind of a worldwide phenomenon. It's not like one particular place. And we tend to think, I believe, especially in America, I believe we tend to just kind of be like, no, no, nah, that's no.
Well,
Whereas there's as much mystery in North America as there is, in Europe or wherever you want to go.
right. But if you want to look at, people discounting things, the mountain gorilla was a myth until 1902. The giant panda was a myth to Western science until the late 1800s. The okapi was a myth until I think the 1940s, along with what else do we have? Tons of things. The mega mouth shark was extinct until somebody discovered it in 1977. The and this is a darling of cryptozoology. In 1938, I think it was, or 37, a fisherman in South Africa pulled up this huge fish and had no idea what it was. So he called the
Coelacanth.
museum, and it was the coelacanth. He called the
Yeah.
museum director, and she's like, "Oh wow, these things died out 65 million years ago." Yeah, no, they didn't.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot, so much out there that we have no clue about.
Yeah.
And here's something that nobody else talks about. Are you familiar with Thor Heyerdahl?
No.
All right, Thor Heyerdahl in the 19 early 1950s. He was a Norwegian anthropologist,
Okay.
and he had a hypothesis that people from Peru colonized um, the like the Philippines, the that part of the world, and everybody else thought he was absolutely nuts. How would they get there from there to here? But he found a lot of idols and some construction to be similar than to what it was in Peru. He found some language was the same. There were some animals that shouldn't be on the islands that were native to Peru. So he and some other Norwegians built a raft like the Peruvians had back thousands of years ago, and they set sail and they went 4,000 miles
Wow.
just to prove it could be done. Um, what I'm getting to has nothing to do with what he found out, but it has to do with the fact that in his book called Kon-Tiki, which is a great read, he wrote about being out in the middle of the ocean away from all of the shipping lanes. I mean, they were in the middle of flipping nowhere, and there were lights underneath the water following the boat. There were black balls, the size of soccer balls in the water that would rise up and dip back down that would follow them like they were intelligent. And he wrote about this in his book, and nobody talks about this. What the hell were those things?
Right.
I,
Right.
I have no clue, but the point is what you're getting at is, I mean, there's so much out there that we don't have a clue about.
Amen. Amen. Uh, now you're gonna get me starting talking about aliens and all that, and boy, I can't get off that subject. Let's stick
No,
to this though.
I'm good with any of that.
Let's stick here for a second at least with these creatures. A couple of the big ones, the big names out there. You got the Dogman, Wolfman, Werewolf. Um, any of these dog kind of creatures. Um, where are you finding those? And is there any in particular stories that just kind of like, oh, that's wild?
Well, man, the dog man's a tough one. I am hesitant to say werewolf,
Yeah.
because that's um, a human turning into a wolf, which originated with what was his name? King Lycos of Greece, who tried to feed human meat to Zeus, and Zeus cursed him and made him turn into a wolf for 7 years. But I mean that has been thrown around and it's gone through all sorts of mythology and the whole thing about the full moon and even a man who is pure at heart and says his prayers at night becomes a wolf when the wolfbane blooms and the moon is full and bright. That was all Hollywood. Any actual werewolf from history, they can change whenever they damn well please.
Right.
And how they turn is to be bitten or to drink out of uh, a puddle formed by the paw of a wolf, or to wear a belt made of wolf hide. That turns him into a werewolf. That's way too out there for me. Not saying it doesn't exist. I'm just saying I would look for something a little bit more substantial before going the woo-woo way.
Right.
Um, but Dogman, there are way too many reports out there for there not to be something to it. And the best case that I have is from a friend of mine. I trust this guy. Ryan's a stand-up dude, and he and a friend were out doing a cemetery investigation. This cemetery, um, they mapped it out, and every time they return to the cemetery, either a tree or a tombstone is in a different place. So they love going out there just to see where things move. And it was about 10, 11 o'clock at night, and the cemetery was out on a dirt road, not even a gravel road. It was a dirt road. And they decided to leave because nothing was happening. And they went down a hill, and there was a big dog in the middle of the road eating something. And they had the windows down in the truck because the temperature was fine, and the dog didn't move. And the driver, the name was Jeff, honked the horn, and the dog finally turned and looked at them, stood up on its hind legs. They could smell wet dogs coming through the window. Stood up on its hind legs, looked at them, and they walked off into the trees. And this guy was dead serious when he told me this.
Wow.
So, I mean, I think
I,
dogmen are pretty far fetched, but I'm not saying they don't exist.
right. Is the skinwalker like kind of a dog man?
Well, yeah, yeah. I mean, a skinwalker can be a lot of different things. It could be an eagle, it can be a dog, a coyote, a wolf.
Right.
It can be whatever it wants to be. Um, but that has to do with Native American mysticism and I don't know. I just know we're not supposed to talk about them, so I try not to.
Oh, I
Yeah.
got you. I got you. And that's funny when you say that because there is a lot of this. You start getting into werewolves, and you start getting into, you know, all these other things, vampires, and these kind of occult connected creatures. And the funny thing is that whether you believe in them as cryptids or not, there are people that definitely believe in them as part of their practices, you might
Well,
say.
100%. And let's go with werewolves and vampires here for a second.
Yeah.
There are so many cultures around the entire planet that have human beings changing in to something else.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got names escaping me right now, but in the Amazon River, there are pink river dolphins. And these pink river dolphins, there is a legend that they can turn into people.
Wow.
And the people walk into town. They're all men. They walk into town. They're smooth talking. They can play a musical instrument. They seduce women, have sex with them, and then go back in the water.
Wow.
All right. There are were jaguar stories from Central America. There are were shark stories. There are, were hyena stories. I mean, all these stories, I mean, of a human turning into an animal or an animal turning into a human. I mean, this is worldwide. I mean, as are ghosts and dragons and every freaking culture out there has a vampire,
Yeah.
something that sucks blood. I mean, that one I can kind of get because, blood's our sustenance, man. That keeps us alive, so why not have something in your mythology that sucks the essence from you
Right.
in the form of blood? But why would every culture come up with that?
All right. Well, and there's a
Yeah.
lot of, I mean, obviously, man, you go, especially South America, Mexico, all the Mayan, Aztec, Peruvian cultures, all of them, man, they were, it's all blood sacrifice stuff and
Yeah.
running down the stairs of the big temples, Chichen Itza and everything else. So blood comes into play, no doubt about it. But
I mean, Africa gets pretty brutal too.
yeah,
I think the most brutal one, I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but in Australia, there's a red dwarf vampire that sits on a tree branch, waits for somebody to come by and jumps on them, and he swallows them. And then he pukes them back out. And when he pukes them back out, the person is the same as he always was, but smaller. And then if the thing swallows that guy again, he comes out smaller still because he's had so much essence sucked out of him. The
wow,
third time when he gets puked out, he turns into one of them.
wow,
Yeah, that's the weirdest.
that's interesting. Okay, all right. Well, let's continue on. Let's see. This
I'm not judging any vampire's lifestyle. That's all I'm saying.
I understand.
Yeah.
Yes. Vampires are people too.
Yeah.
Uh, behind me, I got the idea of this from your book cover, which is awesome. Um, The octopus in Oklahoma. Tell me about it.
All right, there is an octopus allegedly in a number of different lakes. One of them is Lake Thunderbird in Oklahoma. Oklahoma is the least likely place in the Americas for an octopus, but there's a legend of a creature with octopus tentacles that will grab people and boats and drag them underneath the water and feed off of them. And this thing goes back to Native American lore, which makes me wonder why they couldn't have been in Oklahoma the whole time, because how would you know what an octopus was? So the story is extremely old, and I don't think anybody down there actually takes it seriously, but I'm sure some people do. There are warnings not to go into certain lakes at certain times.
Hmm.
I don't know. Freshwater octopus,
Yeah.
huge enough to suck somebody down to the bottom. I don't know.
Some of those lakes get really deep. I do know that. But if the Native Americans were talking about this oral tradition or, you know, cave or whatever, pictographs, is there anything like that showing an octopus? Because I mean, you're in Oklahoma, you're a long way from any ocean where you might
Yeah.
see this creature.
Yeah, you're a way long. Yeah, you're a long way. Not that I know of, but I know that, like in the Pacific Northwest, there's rock art, there's petroglyphs of Cadbrosaurus. There's rock art all through California and the Pacific Northwest of Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Um, and there's rock art in Utah of a theropod dinosaur. So I mean, the natives have seen a lot, and I'm really big on legends because they didn't make something up that resembles something that we know about unless they saw it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely go by what these cultures, older cultures, especially in their traditions, have passed down, passed down, passed down. And one of the other things you see, I don't know if you call it a cryptid, but giants, man, you see this all over the world. Giants, giants, giants.
Everywhere.
And allegedly, if you find bones of giants, they disappeared in the Smithsonian, allegedly.
Well, allegedly, yeah. Well, I mean, all right, here's something that really gets me. And let me get religious on you.
Okay.
Uh, I will tell you right now about something that really beats in my heart. No, it has to do with giants, man. The Christianity. All right, I'm not dogging on Christianity, but if you go to church, you hear certain parts of the Bible. And that's great because there's a lot of lessons in there that try to make you a better person. I am 100% behind that. But what about all the discussions of giants?
Yeah.
If you
Nephilim.
believe this part, why don't you believe the part about the giants?
Yeah. Genesis.
Especially after giants have been reported all across North America, islands in the Caribbean, in Patagonia down in South America. I mean, giants have been discussed everywhere across the planet.
Yeah. You're absolutely
Yeah.
right. You're absolutely right, Jason. Yeah. Yeah. The Genesis 6, that gets, well, I mean, and you start looking at it, most of the Old Testament is talking about giants. There's so many references to it. It's kind of funny, but anyway.
Yeah, no, it really is. Yeah. Well, and it's not just giants, and this isn't just the Bible, but I mean, there are legends across the world of dragons.
Yeah.
I'm not saying dragons have ever existed, but every single culture,
Yeah.
including here in Missouri, in western Missouri or eastern Missouri and western Illinois, we have the Piazza, which was a Native American dragon story.
Yeah.
What is Quetzalcoatl from the Aztec lore? I mean, it's a freaking dragon.
Yeah. Dragon with wings.
Africa, yeah, yeah, exactly. It had wings. Europe, you know, King or yeah, what Sir George?
Yeah.
Who?
St. George and the
Yes,
dragon.
and the dragon. Africa's got them. Australia's got them. Of course, China and Japan and yeah.
Yeah.
Again,
And
something to this. I'm
yep, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Giant birds. Thunderbirds, of course, in North America, Native American, the Thunderbird. But um, I've seen some pictures, and I don't know if these are real or not, man. You can't verify things hardly at all anymore online because you just don't know. AI is so good. But there's been some pictures that they look like they were probably taken in the 1800s, and it's like a guys out
pterodactyl.
west. Yeah, the pterodactyl pictures.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, this was before AI, but it was not before uh, Photoshop.
yeah,
Here's my view on videos and pictures. I am terrible at Photoshop, but I could fake something, and it would be passable for maybe 10 minutes.
yeah,
So I don't trust photographs. Um, I mean, I do trust UFO photographs, some of them that were taken, back in the 50s and 40s. But yeah, that picture I think is absolutely a fake. But when it comes to creatures like that, I mean, let's go with what that was, a pterodactyl. There are lots of reports of people seeing a pterodactyl flying in the air.
yeah,
I think the most credible one was in the 1970s. Three teachers were driving home from a conference, and there was a shadow that passed over the road, and they stopped and looked up, and there was a pterodactyl flying in the sky. And it was like, okay, these guys are teachers. You think they know what a pterodactyl looked like.
yeah,
All right. There are stories from Africa. There's stories from Papua New Guinea, um, from Australia, of people, the locals, the natives, seeing pterodactyls and having that as part of their belief system. And when Western people show them pictures, they're like, yeah, that's what it is.
yeah,
Okay. I don't, when the comet or asteroid hit, 65, 66 million years ago, are there places on Earth where dinosaurs might have survived? If there were, it probably would have been Africa or, South America or New Guinea.
yeah,
I'm not saying there's not anything there. I would love to see proof. It's the same with you mentioned thunderbirds. They really resemble the teratorn, which was most related to condors and the North American vulture.
all right,
Um, but it had the wingspan of like 20 feet. It was the size of a small, one man plane. And people have reported that all over North America. I mean, Pennsylvania, New York, Massachusetts.
yeah,
There was a case in Alaska back in the 1990s of a guy flying a plane, and he thought another plane was right next to him because he saw something out of his periphery, and he looked over, and it was a freaking bird that was the same size of the plane he was flying.
yeah,
And it eventually, banked off and disappeared in the mountains. But again, going back to what we talked about really early in the interview, is the fact that there are so many places in the well, in North America alone, especially Canada, for God's sake,
yeah, yeah,
uh, that it's they're either unexplored or where people are visitors.
yeah,
They don't live there. They're just there for a little bit. There could be there could be populations of mammoths out there for all we know.
yeah, yeah. Interesting. Yeah, you get up and man, if you've ever been up north, man, there's so much and so little people. Just, I mean,
I mean,
it's
just
kind of
look at Montana. It
yeah,
has a population. The entire state has a population of St. Joseph, Missouri, or less.
yeah,
Okay, it has less than 75,000 people. The whole freaking state, and it's huge.
yeah.
You could hide a lot of things up there.
Oh yeah, yeah. Um, on to the flying creatures. Staying with the flying creatures. What about the Mothman? I mean, dude, I went down to Point Pleasant, West Virginia. I did the whole thing, man. I drone flew over that bridge to just where the Silver Bridge used to be. I went out to the TNT bunkers. Oh, that was weird, but
Man, I'm envious. I would love to go out there. I've never been out there yet.
it was wild. That was wild.
I don't
But
know. It's a weird place,
yeah,
from a cryptid standpoint, because it's not just Mothman. We've got there's a goat man out at the TNT area that has been seen by a number of people.
really.
Yeah, and it's also in the same area as, oh, I'm having trouble dragging this name out. It had a cowl that looked like a spade from a deck of cards.
Oh,
The
okay.
heck am I thinking of? It's a famous UFO encounter. Anyway, there's a lot of stuff that went on out there. Mothman, I don't know.
Yeah, I
I don't
mean,
know.
it's there's like variations of Mothman too. It's a harbinger of bad things. So I don't know if I don't know if it's real or not. But I'll tell you what, I've never been anywhere spookier. And excuse
Mm,
my kitty here, who just loves to be on the show. I've never
yeah.
been in a more wow, this is really weird, uncomfortable place than those TNT bunkers. Um, and there was one that was open and you could go in it, and it was. And I was out there by myself, exploring this stuff. It's kind of weird, kind
That's
of
what
wild.
I tell people. Don't go by yourself, man.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, just don't do it. Oh, well, Mothman has been seen a number, or reportedly seen a number of people, or in a number of places.
yeah.
It was, people have claimed to have seen it in Chernobyl before the disaster. People in Minnesota claim to have seen it before Minneapolis before the bridge disaster they had there.
Right.
And Lon Strickler's done a whole lot of work on a bunch of Mothman sightings in Chicago over the last, 10 years.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
There's some weird stuff that happened in Chicago too with UFOs. A UFO over O'Hare, the
O'Hare, yeah, it was
gate
like a
15 or something.
it took off, and there was like a circle. I saw a picture of a circle cut through the clouds that
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Wild stuff. Wild stuff. You ever hear of these like walking stick man entities that are, I don't know,
Yeah,
they're,
I don't know a lot about them, but I have heard of them, yes.
did you do any research on those in your book?
No, I have no, I didn't. Although I have I was listening to a podcast where somebody claimed to have seen it,
Yeah.
and it was the same height as like uh a street light pole.
Yeah. Yeah.
He thought it was that, until it started walking and it had arms and legs.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Really bizarre stuff. What about the invisible ones, like the Glimmer Man and any of that stuff?
Man, I love those because
Yeah.
they all sound like the Predator.
They do, don't they?
Right. Those kind of fascinate me because I have read about um, the Army,
Yeah.
working on that kind of technology.
Yeah.
Who are they going to try it out on?
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
Yeah. The mere
Yeah.
fact that it hasn't killed us all is, makes me lean more toward, maybe a terrestrial explanation.
Yep. I kind of agree with that, especially since it feels like it could be technology,
Yeah.
versus just something like natural. And the same thing with, I'm friends with Timothy Alberino, who he's a researcher who does stuff down in Peru, but he went down when they were talking about those face peelers. And I don't know, a couple of years ago where these creatures were on these floating platforms and coming in and harassing these towns. And he went down and explored it because he used to live down there in the Amazon. And but he said it sounded like it was almost, they said it looked like the Green Goblin from the Spider-Man movies. But it sounds like, technology rather than some sort of cryptid, right?
Right.
Yeah. And something else you get into with this, kind of like we were just talking about, you have the technology side versus the cryptid side, but then on that, you also have this, and we kind of touched on it before, cryptid versus supernatural. is there any of the things that you feel like could be in that realm?
Oh, yeah, this is okay. This is where my love for science comes in because there are a lot of people now because we don't have, enough evidence of Bigfoot to prove that it is unidentified North American ape.
All right.
All right, which is what, a lot of researchers have been going for years. So people have been saying, okay, so maybe it's interdimensional, or maybe it's extraterrestrial because it seems to go into the forest and disappear.
Yeah.
And I'm not opposed to that, but I would like to have the terrestrial explanation explained away before I go into any of that. Um, Bigfoot going into the forest and disappearing. Have you ever been in the forest? Have you ever hung out in the woods? I have, and I've walked out in the woods and I've had a deer, which is not as big as Bigfoot, but still, it's a big creature, weighing 150 or more pounds. I've had one like 10 feet away from me, all of a sudden jump up and run away because I scared him. I had no clue he was 10 feet away from me.
Yeah. Yeah.
If Bigfoot is as smart as it's purported to be, and it has woodcraft savvy, which he would have to have, man, I'm not saying that, Bigfoot's not anything but flesh and blood.
Right. Right.
Right. So I'm not going there.
Okay.
So I mean, however, along the lines of things we've been talking about, you know, um, legends and stories of creatures that appear everywhere. What civilization doesn't have ghosts? In
Right.
their belief system, they all do.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah, and I understand let's not rush into the paranormal kind of outlook. I get that, and I think that's probably the healthy one to have. But I do think that there might be some of this stuff that does cross over, and there are questions that you cannot deny that Bigfoot sightings are oftentimes connected with, and a lot of these cryptids sightings are often connected with UFO sightings
UFOs. Yep.
and some sort of occult something. A lot of times, it's just all connected. How I don't know. I don't
I
know.
don't, but I'm open. I'm open to that. I
Yeah,
just want one thing taken care of before I move there.
yeah, totally get it. Totally get it.
Yeah, it's
Um,
like it's like UFOs.
yeah,
Um, Man, I've been hooked on UFOs for 50 plus years, man.
same
Uh,
here.
and we got a lot of people going with, man, they're interdimensional or they're coming from Earth or they're demonic entities pretending to be aliens. All right, cool. Maybe they're all the above. I have no idea, but I still think we need to prove they're not nuts and bolts craft before we go to that level. And scientists say they can't get here from there. Okay, our science says that.
All right.
Their science probably doesn't.
Yeah. Well, and to be fair, our science says that there's ways. Einstein Rosen bridges and all these different things,
Right,
wormholes.
right. We just haven't figured it out yet.
Yeah. I mean, but the science is there to demonstrate that it's possible. It's just how you do it. I know.
Mm.
And I growing up, big Star Trek fan, obviously, and
Yeah,
man, the science behind Star Trek was fascinating because a lot of it was based upon real science. Um,
right. Well, I mean, we've gotten so many things, scientifically from Star Trek.
yeah,
You know, those floppy disks.
yeah.
We got floppy disks, we got desktop computers, we got so much from Star Trek. Yeah,
Our
exactly. I
communicators, our
I read an
tricorders.
interview I read an interview with Leonard Nimoy, and this was back when he had flip phones. And he was on site somewhere doing something, and he was talking on his flip phone. And when he got off the call, he clicked it shut, and the guy next to him said, "Mr. Spock was just talking on a communicator." Oh, hell yeah, he was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, pretty interesting stuff. There's some wild stories behind Gene Roddenberry and all that stuff too, but yeah, that's for another time. um, I mean, we kind of got into this too. What's your thoughts, or if you have any at all, as far as some of this being in some way, shape, or form, a government program, a government technology, army technology, or, experimentation on animals. You hear about the Montauk Project monster that washed up on shore, who knows what that was, all these different things, potential for, especially today, with CRISPR technology, and we can do so much with genetics. It's crazy. Um, they talk about allegedly maybe, building a super soldier, and some of this stuff is, accidents and whatnot. What's your thoughts on any of that?
Okay, I wouldn't put anything past our government. They've done a lot of horrible things in the past that have been well documented. So that means there are a lot of horrible things they've done that aren't documented.
Right.
Um, oh my gosh. I always go back to this. I went to college in the 80s, and the college I went to was in Warrensburg, Missouri, Central Missouri State University, which is about 20-minute drive from Whiteman Air Force Base, where the B-2 bomber is, stealth bomber. And I never heard of the stealth bomber because nobody had. One night, Sunday night, I was watching 60 Minutes, and they had a piece on the stealth bomber. And later that week, I drove on US Highway 50 to Sedalia. Um, and I'm glad I watched that piece because I saw a pencil line in the sky and I had no idea what it was. So I pulled over, got out of my car, stood and watched as the stealth bomber flew overhead. It was just a pencil line in until it flew over me. And then it was the bat plane, and I couldn't hear anything. I heard nothing.
Wow.
And if I hadn't have watched 60 Minutes, I would have thought, man, the Martians are here and they're coming to get me.
All right.
Okay. That was in the early 1980s.
Yeah.
What the hell have they done since then?
Oh yeah.
We haven't seen anything as good as that, as game changing as that. They had to have done so many game changers that we haven't seen. You know, a bodysuit that turns you into the predator
Yeah.
that we were talking about earlier. And they could have anything and we wouldn't know about it.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. It's kind of interesting. I mean, you start looking, I mean, there's tech. I feel like the moment that you hear about it, you hear about some company, um, some company working on, invisible body armor, or whatever. I feel like it's already been developed, tested, tried, and implemented by the time that this company is trying some new cutting edge thing. And ironically, probably 4 or 5 years ago, there was a company that was dealing with tactical armor on vehicles to make them look invisible. And it's the same principle almost as what you saw with Predator. So
Right.
just, it's kind of interesting. And if that's the case, I mean, I'm sure that it probably, already exists. For crying out loud, stuff that we know about is amazing. Like you said, what we don't know about, it's got to be just mind-boggling.
Oh man, there's a
Mind-boggling.
soldier, super soldier, in camo right now, right in my room. He's watching me right now, talking to you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Now it's you mentioned super soldiers. There have been people trying to make super soldiers ever since the Nazis did in World War II.
yeah, yeah,
So, I mean, do we have super soldiers out there? Yeah, I think we've got hell, we probably have Master Chief from freaking
yeah,
Halo out there somewhere.
yeah. Probably, you're right.
Yeah.
Um, do you think any of these? Do you think all these are? Uh, just kind of like we'll wrap that up part of it. Do you think that these are all physical creatures, meaning you can touch them or whatever? Um, or do you think that they, in some way, shape, or form, might be, you know, ghostly or apparitions or any of that stuff?
Yeah, I think all the above. A lot of these I think are definitely physical creatures. But they're like that cat.
I got
That's a physical creature.
this is a little kitten. We just got a new kitten, and he
Yeah.
is full of it. Anyway,
Yeah, I keep my door shut so Gary's not in here. That's
yeah.
our cat.
If I had a door, I'm just down in the basement. But if I had a door, I would shut it. Trust me. Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah, no, there are a lot of creatures out there that I think are probably uh not physical.
Yeah,
Uh I wrote a book on shadow people. Those things are I would probably consider them cryptids, but for the most part they seem to be, you know, non-corporeal.
yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, there's man, this is a strange world we live in.
It really is. It really is. And I mean, like you said before, literally thousands across the world, thousands of these
Yeah.
things, variations and whatnot. But it is interesting. I think the
It
thing
is.
you can take and walk away from this conversation and say is, man, as strange as these things are, we find similar variations of the same things all around the world.
All around the world.
So,
Yeah. So is it something is the human mind just prone to putting the same things together? Do they exist everywhere? I mean, there's something there's a certain type of evolution that creatures that grow up in the same habitat, same environment, grow up to look the same and act the same, even if they're not in the same species. Also, there are things like dinosaur sightings, the territory we were talking about. There have been reports of North American lion sightings, hyena sightings in North America.
yeah,
Those things existed here at one point
yeah,
back in the Pleistocene.
yep,
Now, who's to say that they're not ghosts
yeah,
because there haven't been any fatalities associated with their sightings?
yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I mean, and it just gets wilder and wilder. You know, uh, not to plug the History Channel throughout this, but I do kind of watch Skinwalker Ranch on there, and they found this dead animal and DNA tested it, and it has what appears to be dire wolf
Hmm.
DNA. And of course, then you heard recently they're de-extincting the dire wolf.
Yeah.
They've got two pups alive right now. It's kind of crazy, this world that we live in. So who knows? I mean, who, who knows? Maybe it's just things that we're being able to reanimate as well.
Right, right.
So
I wouldn't put that past anything. And go ahead and plug the History Channel. I was on Ancient Aliens, season 18, episode 8.
excellent. What were you
Yeah.
talking about?
Shadow people involved with possibly being aliens.
Ah, okay. Shadow people. Did you talk about Men in Black at all?
No, I
No.
did not. And I've Nick Redfern's talked to me about the shadow people and Men in Black being the same, and I'm like, I don't see it.
Right. Yeah. Nick's funny. I enjoyed listening to Nick. You guys good friends?
We're casual acquaintances.
I got you. This is what I see, okay? Because I'm kind of like you. I said before, kind of cut from the same cloth. I'm not afraid to admit that I completely believe UFOs are real. I believe in aliens. What exactly they are, I'm not exactly sure, but I do believe that there's something, yeah, and even the nuts and bolts craft that are more than just us. That's what I believe. And I do believe in creatures like Bigfoot. Don't know exactly what it is. I do believe that there were and probably still are giants. All this stuff. I'm not afraid to admit it, but why do you think the mainstream um, kind of refuses to take any of this seriously, or they kind of put a little, and I guess it's gotten better, right? It has gotten better,
Mhm.
but there's still a little, scoff and chuckle. Like, you believe in Bigfoot? What? you know?
Right. Well, in giants, leviathans, behemoths, all of that, the Nephilim, angels, everything, was on the table for the longest time. And then when the Age of Enlightenment happened, we had science, and science was like, well, no, it's this, this, and this, and that took control for a while. But there were things science couldn't do. And there were so many people who were still seeing these things that science couldn't answer. Um, but that, science saying no and Christianity's sort of backing away from all of the paranormal aspects of the Bible, which is the most paranormal book on the planet.
Yeah.
But them, they backed away. It made us afraid to admit when we saw, hey, that's a winged person flying in the air.
Right.
All right, wow, what is that? So we were afraid to say anything, and it hasn't been. Well, I mean, if you look in the early 19 late 1800s, early 1900s, spirituality took hold. So it was okay to believe in ghosts,
Right.
and that kind of disappeared. But during the 1940s, it was okay to start believing in UFOs
Yeah.
because, during World War II, we had the whole Foo Fighters thing. And then in 1941, we had the UFO crash in South Missouri. And then we had Roswell and the Battle of Los Angeles and the flight over the Capitol building in DC. And then they just exploded. Okay, UFOs are okay now. And then they weren't because, oh, wait a second, Patterson Gimlin film. We've got Bigfoot now. So there have been ups and downs throughout the years. Um, but things are okay now for us to talk about this because there's TV shows. When I wrote my first paranormal book back in 2007, Haunted Missouri, I got so much backlash from anybody I wanted to interview from southeastern Missouri because of all, it's the buckle on the Bible Belt down there. They didn't want to talk about ghosts. Now everybody does
Yeah.
just because of all the popularity on TV. And now people realize, hey, other people have seen this too. Other people have experienced that. It's okay for me to come out with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is funny how it's almost like high school, Jason. It's like peer pressure,
Yeah.
like, oh, you bet I'm not going to tell people I believe this because they'll think I'm, a nut job. And I guess maybe I'm just getting older and I don't care.
That's the best part of getting older is you just don't care anymore, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And you don't get pimples mentioning high school. So we're good.
There you go. That's a
Yeah.
definite bonus. Do you think there's any kind of danger in doing what you do or talking about the stuff I talk about on the Ryan Files? Do you think there's danger in being public about talking about it or any of that? Any kind of,
It
you know,
depends. Oh, no, that's a great question. That is a great question. I just think talking in general, like we are,
yeah.
is fine. Um, I don't want to. I have talked to some people about things that the government may have
Mm-hmm.
done that they asked me to be secret about that I'm not going to talk to anybody about because the government scares the hell out of me. I also, this has been like 15 years ago. I was gearing up to write the first book on black-eyed kids.
Oh, wow.
And my wife was like, Jason, none of the other stuff you write about bothers me. These things scare me a lot. So if you write this book and they become aware of you and they knock on my door, it is your ass, mister.
Yeah.
So, protect your,
Yeah.
pick your battles. I did that. Um, I'm glad David Weatherly wrote the book because I'd wanted to. But anyway,
Yeah. That freaks
uh,
me out too.
yeah, no, there's stuff out there I don't on and there is a religious object that I was going to write a book about, but it started affecting me and my family negatively. So I stopped,
Okay.
and I haven't talked about it other than right now because I was afraid of what was going to happen.
Interesting. Interesting. Is this stuff I mean, is this like sixth sense gut feeling, or is this like actual things happening that are like, that's a sign.
Well, with the religious object, things that it did to people who owned it
Uh,
followed me home. And it affected my son, who's now 20, but he was 5 at the time. And it affected him in the way that it affected other people. And I'm like, I am done.
yeah.
And I haven't written about ghosts or spiritual entities at all since then. In the
Yeah.
last 15 years, I've stuck to cryptids.
Yep. I get it. And it's kind of funny because I mean, listen, there's no doubt I'm a Christian, but and we talk about things from a, biblical perspective, I guess you might say on this show, but there's definitely a spiritual side to some of this stuff that just, man, it gets dark real quick. And
Mhm.
that's not where I want to be spending my time, energy, effort, or allowing it, I guess, basically into my house, my home, my life.
Because that's exactly what you'll be doing.
Yeah.
Bring it
Yeah.
because yeah, and I didn't mean to say I'm not Christian. I'm just there are a lot of things that Christians do and say that I don't agree with.
Oh yeah.
But I do think there's good in this world,
Yeah.
and I do think there are bad entities in this world.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to keep my distance from the latter.
Yeah. Smart man. Smart man, Jason.
Yeah.
Um,
Ain't my first rodeo, son.
yep. If you had to pick one creature, just one creature, Jason, that, I mean, you're going to just look into the camera right now and tell the world, listen, guys, it's real. Is there one?
Bigfoot. That's
Yeah.
it. Bigfoot.
Yeah.
I have no doubt that there is some type of giant, hairy, humanoid creature in the forests and grasslands and mountains of every continent.
Yeah.
I mean, everything, I mean, everywhere.
Yeah.
It's got to be real.
Yeah.
Whether it is an animal, whether it is an extant human,
Yeah.
I have no idea. Hell, there's even a Bigfoot encounter in the Book of Mormon.
Yeah.
So, it spanned centuries, it spanned millennia, for God's sake. Yeah, I think Bigfoot's real.
Yeah. Bigfoot is the one. There's so much, listen, the film and whatnot, whether or not it's real, who knows, but there is so much anecdotal data out there for surrounding Bigfoot. And just like you said, common occurrences around the world, you know,
Mhm.
um, there's just so much evidence out there, and it's funny.
Well, I mean, for one, the Skookum cast is that's a lot of evidence right there.
Yeah.
It's got an ass print.
Yeah.
It's got the calf print,
Yep.
and there are so many footprints that have been, cast in plaster that have dermal ridges on them. I mean, who's going to take the time to try and fake that?
All right.
They're not. And there's been DNA tests done. A researcher in Alberta, Canada, has done research or has done a DNA test on um, some, I think, hair sample that he got. Dr. Melba Ketchum had evidence that she had DNA tests done on. There's a researcher from a university in England who had the son of Zana the Alma from Russia, the Russian Bigfoot. Her son dug up and had a DNA test done on his remains, and they all came out as human with some anomalies.
Yeah.
Now, so many native populations around the world have said that these are just other tribes of people. They're just bigger than and hairier than us. So this DNA comes out as people, but or human, but with some anomalies. Man, that fits right into that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want them over for a family reunion, but you know, it could be.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll tell you what, man, I living down here in the Ozarks, I like to go out and hike and whatnot, but man, there are certain times and places you get in certain areas where you just realize I'm out here in the middle of nowhere. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of Bigfoot reports from down there, man.
Yeah, there are. Oh, anyways. Um, if people want to, you know, because I guarantee people are going to watch this, you're going to be like, oh, I'm gonna start looking. Where number one, where do they get your book? But where some places like other resources besides your book, like locally, where you can go? Is there places you can go to do more research about your area? Well, I mean, like if a person
You mean
lives in
do you
like
mean
Pennsylvania,
geographical area?
yeah, like if someone lives in Pennsylvania and they're like, hey, I want to know what's specifically around me. How do they find out stuff like
Oh,
that?
okay. Right. No, now I get you. Um, well, I wrote a book 15 years ago, maybe. Um, 14, I think. Called What Lurks Beyond. I put a pin in the map and I measured out a piece of string to be 100 miles, and I put a pencil on the end of it and I drew a circle. And I explored everything paranormal within 100 miles of my house. There was more than enough to fill a book.
Wow.
So what I'm telling people, yeah, you're in Pennsylvania, you're in Florida, you're in Texas, wherever, look in your backyard.
Yeah.
There's something paranormal there, whether it be a ghost, demon possession, somebody who tried to travel in time, Bigfoot, whatever. Just, I mean, look in the old newspaper archives. Go to the library. Go to the historical society and ask some questions. There's something weird right there for you to find.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you break down any of your findings by state whenever you wrote about the Americas?
Well, and yeah, in my first, well, actually, Chasing American Monsters, my first one, and Chasing North American Monsters, I both have a bunch of states broken down.
Did you
Chasing American Monsters are all state by state by state. Chasing North American Monsters, I have all the countries
okay.
from North America, but I also, when I hit the United States, I have a monster, at least one monster from every state.
Okay. I am going to be spending a lot of time in Pennsylvania and Ohio this summer. Just wondering if there's anything in particular that you think maybe I should look at in those areas.
Oh, Pennsylvania and Ohio both have Bigfoot encounters. Bigfoot, the Ohio's called the Grass Man. Pennsylvania also has something called the Squonk,
Squonk.
which is Squonk,
Okay.
which is a great name, but it's one of those monsters you're like, yeah, no, this doesn't exist. It's apparently a large pig-like creature that, what's the dog that has all the skin folds? Is that a Shih Tzu?
Yeah, yeah, like a Sharpei or something like that.
Sharpei. It's a
Yeah.
Sharpei. It's like a pig that looks like a Sharpei, and it cries because it's really sad. And the story is that a hunter went out and he found one and he scooped it up in a sack and put it over his shoulder to carry it home because he was going to butcher it and eat it. And when he finally got back to his cabin, all he had was a wet sack because it cried itself to death.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Squonk. Squonk.
Yep. There you go.
Man, that's just cheating at Scrabble right there. I'll tell you what. So where do people get your book, Jason?
Amazon. It's at my there Barnes and Noble. It's Books a Million. Um, Llewellyn.com. Lewellyn.
Wow.
That's my publisher.
Okay. All right.
Or it's at my website, jasonoffutt.com.
JasonOff.com.
And if anybody wants to get a hold of me, I'm on Facebook, Twitter, excuse me, X. No,
Yeah.
don't excuse me, Twitter, Threads, Blue Sky, and Instagram.
Yeah. Have you figured out with X? Everybody still says I put a tweet up on X, or you know what I mean? They still
Right.
say
No,
like,
because it's Twitter.
yeah.
Nobody's going to call it X.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, listen, man, I'm going to keep my eyes open this summer. I've got some investigations. I'm going to check out the Cahokia Mounds over in Western Illinois, by St. Louis. A number of other things once I'm in Pennsylvania. And who knows, man, if I see anything, I'll let you know. But there's always some cool ways to go out and, I don't know, just explore and find something. So
yeah, there is. Just go out and look.
There you go. Good advice. Hey, man, I really appreciate you coming on. People are going to love this.
Ryan, I've had a lot of fun, man. Thank you very much.
Get his book, ladies and gentlemen, the one and only author and awesome man of curious knowledge, Jason Offutt. Thank you, buddy.
All right, thanks.
What if it's not just myth? What if every corner of the world echoes with the same ancient stories, not because of coincidence, but because somewhere deep down, we already know they're true? From Bigfoot to extinct creatures, from government projects to ghostly encounters, Jason Offutt reminded us that the map we've been handed might be missing more than just a few monsters. It might be hiding the whole truth. So here's the question I want to ask you. If you had to bet on just one creature being real, which one would it be? Which one would you choose and why? Drop it in the comments below. I read every single one. If you got something out of today's show, like it, share it, and most importantly, subscribe to the channel so you never miss a deep dive episode like this again. Want to go deeper and support the mission? Visit theryanfiles.com for full episodes and resources. Become an agent of the Ryan Files at patreon.com/theryanfiles to unlock exclusive content and help us keep this truth train rolling. You folks are awesome. Be amazing, be positive, and stay curious out there, my friends, and I'll see you right here next time on The Ryan Files.
Are you not curious?
Preparing to transfer the Ryan Files. Now.
I present to you, with great intrigue and wonder, the Ryan Files.